Okay, so you think you know KFC, right? The bucket, the kernel. We all do. But what if I told you the real story? The one about how a tiny roadside shack became this global giant, is packed with more twists, turns, and secrets than you could ever imagine. Well, that's what we're diving into today. The real story of KFC.
First things first, let's just try to wrap our heads around the scale here, because it's just massive. We're not talking about a few countries here and there. KFC is in over 150 countries. Just let that sink in for a second. A single recipe for fried chicken has planted its flag in more places than some of history's biggest empires. That's just wild.
And it's not just about how many places they're in, it's about being number one. When you talk about chicken restaurants, KFC is at the absolute top of the food chain. Not one of the most popular. It is the most popular chicken chain on the entire planet, period. So the big question is, how? How does that even happen? You'd probably picture some young genius, right? Some ambitious entrepreneur in their 20s. But here's the kicker, and honestly the best part of this whole story. This entire empire was built by a man who most people would have completely written off. And that brings us right to the man himself, the guy in the white suit, Colonel Harlan Sanders. You know, his story is not one of those overnight success things. Not even close. It's actually a masterclass in just not giving up. It's proof that maybe, just maybe, your greatest achievements are still ahead of you. I mean, this guy's resume was all over the place. Before he ever found his calling with chicken, he tried his hand at being a steamboat pilot, a railroad fireman. He even practiced law for a while, until he got into a fistfight with his own client right in the middle of a courtroom. Yeah, that actually happened. He was a man who was constantly searching, often failing, but always getting back up again. And this really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? The very first KFC franchise, it didn't even open its doors until 1952, at 62 years old. An age where most folks are planning their retirement parties, Harlan Sanders was just getting started on what would become his life's work. So if you take one thing away from the Colonel's life, let it be this. His story is just this powerful testament to the idea that it is never, ever too late to go chase a dream, to completely reinvent yourself, and to build something that lasts. Okay, so the Colonel's incredible perseverance is a huge part of the story, but it's only half of it, right? The other half? Well, that was the product itself. A recipe so special, it became one of the most closely guarded secrets in corporate history. The original recipe. We've all heard of it, but what is it really? It's that secret code, right? That perfect blend of 11 herbs and spices that gives KFC that unique, unforgettable flavor. The flavor that, let's be honest, no one has ever been able to truly replicate. And the mythology they built around this recipe is just, it's genius. It's as much a part of the brand as the chicken. The legend goes, the Colonel perfected his blend, wrote it down on a single piece of paper, and to this day, that original copy is kept in a 2-ton safe surrounded by motion detectors and 24-hour surveillance. It's brilliant marketing that turned a recipe into a legend. But look, a great recipe can only get you so far. So how did a secret blend of herbs and spices from a small town in Kentucky actually conquer the world? Well, that brings us to the next chapter, KFC's international domination. And really, it's a fascinating masterclass in how a brand can cross borders and become a genuine part of completely different cultures. Now, this is something that I think blows most Americans' minds. We think of KFC as this classic American brand, right? But the reality is, its success is overwhelmingly an international story. The vast majority of its business is outside the US, which means it had to get really good at speaking a lot of different languages, both literally and culturally. And you want the craziest, most amazing example of that? Let's talk about Japan. In Japan, KFC is Christmas. I'm not kidding. Thanks to a brilliant marketing campaign decades ago, families now pre-order their KFC buckets weeks in advance for their holiday feast. It's not just food over there, it's a full-blown cultural event. So what's the secret to that kind of global success? It's a willingness to innovate and adapt. So let's take a look at some of the clever and sometimes downright bizarre ways KFC has reinvented itself around the world. First off, a little-known technical secret. The texture of that chicken wasn't an accident. Colonel Sanders' secret weapon wasn't just the recipe. It was the pressure fryer. He was one of the first to use one commercially. This was key. It cooked the chicken incredibly fast,
which sealed in all the juices while creating that famous crispy skin. It was a total technological edge. And this is where things get really interesting. To succeed in different markets, KFC has gone way beyond the original recipe. We're talking about things you'd never see on a US menu. Like, get this, chicken-flavored ice cream, burgers with black buns, and even shrimp donuts. It's a wild and delicious world of KFC out there.
And this right here perfectly illustrates their strategy. The core stuff, the kernel, the secret recipe, the brand identity, it's the same everywhere. But they aren't afraid to get creative and tailor the menu to local tastes, which allows the brand to feel both familiar and unique in every single country. Which leaves us with this final thought. We started by talking about 11 secret herbs and spices. But when you look at the full story, a founder who never gave up, a protected secret, and a genius blend of global and local, you have to wonder, maybe the real secret ingredient isn't in the vault at all. Maybe it's perseverance itself.